Sia, the greatest on New Business Radio live from the IBC. It's time to introduce our new guest, Michael Alfar. He's from Mauve Media, and he is a multimedia design professional with experience intensive within because he doing live shows, musical performance arts, music festivals, film and TV. In the future show you can find at the exhibition stand of White Light. And yesterday, Fabienne, we saw a demonstration from Michael.
Yeah, it was amazing actually. We all know the green screens where they can project things on it. And actually, Michael, welcome. I tried to explain the whole system to my husband last night, and I just couldn't find the words.
Yeah. Should I give a try? Should I try?
You will try it?
Yeah, because it's with your partner, solution partner, White Light.
Yeah.
And it's like a mixed reality tech lab.
Yeah, that's correct.
Showcasing the latest developments in media server workflows for live broadcast, live generative content, and immersive production environments. Wow.
Yeah, that's the whole time right there.
Okay, so explain to us.
What we saw was the studio.
Yeah.
And we saw the red square because of the world champion football. It was the demo.
Yeah. So what it is...
immense.
So sorry, what it is basically we're trying to kind of find a different solution to the green screen approach for an
What happened there?
I don't know.
Sorry, Michael. Everything okay? Everyone okay?
It's not mixed reality. It was
no, this is real.
Something
it's very, very real.
Right.
No, so what we're trying to look at how can we kind of bypass the green screen approach for augmented reality.
Yeah, because the disadvantages of the green screen are...
Yeah, well, I wouldn't call them disadvantages. They're very good systems. Look, I said, what if you take the green screen out of the equation? And what if you project this content behind you and around you? That would make me feel a lot more comfortable, because I'm standing in this set and I'm looking around me and I can see this happen all around me. I can point at it. Instantly, I have a relationship with this content around me, which is you can create a relationship with you and an inexperienced guest coming on stage with the content that you cannot achieve in a green screen.
No.
So
because they have to look on the monitor outside of the decor, etc.
Yeah, rather than, I mean, you and I were looking eye to eye. What if we could do that and we could see this all around us, rather than having to look to the comfort monitor outside the studio, outside the set to see where we are.
Yeah.
So you can walk around the augmented reality statues and all the decor stuff that you can put in the screen, because you can see it.
Yeah, it's not just augmented. It's basically what it is. It's a 3D model that is rendered in real time inside of this guy's media server. We've got this model this 3D environment modeled in Notch, which is a real-time render engine. And that just lives in this media server. We link the cameras to that. So what we're seeing is a virtual world. It's not just an augmented world, it's a virtual world that's being displayed behind us.
What's the difference?
Augmented is it's something that we add in front of us. The virtual world behind us and the screens is something that's behind us. So basically we're standing between what we call a virtual backplate and an augmented front plate. Yeah. Which means I'm now caught between, if you look at the stand, we've got the Premier League trophy in there. Then there's me behind that, and then you've got the whole football set behind us.
And what's in front of you, it's augmented.
What's in front of us is augmented, what's behind is virtual. Now, this is where it gets even more complicated, because we've blurred those lines, and you can actually walk around your augmented element. Because it's all projected from the same angle, it's all in the same world. So you can now create an even intenser relationship with your, what is a front plane. Yeah. So it becomes very confusing at some point. It even becomes confusing to talk about it, because I need to explain to you guys are radio.
This techniques is used by the Olympics last winter. Olympics for Eurosport.
The Winter Olympics.
Can you give us that example because of the snowboarder, or was it?
So the backstory behind that is Discovery came to White Light and said, we want you to give us something new, something that's not been done before. So together with White Light, we've been looking at how can we develop this. So we took four LED screens, and we said, this is our studio. And then we started creating the virtual world around it.
Like a cube.
Like a cube, exactly. That's exactly what it was called. So that whole cube then was moved to Pyeongchang. And that's where the reporters came in, did their analysis, had their, like, if a skier made an error, they could point him out in augmented reality and show and get a close-up. What we found there is that when you bring sports athletes in the studio who are not professional broadcasters and they're a bit scared and green screen, they don't know where to look at. Here, because they could see this content, and instantly they feel at home. We've had this Amy Fuller, who's a British snowboarder who just won a medal. And you know what it's like. They get dragged off the slope straight into the studio, and can you tell us your experience? And they're all a bit confused. So as soon as they can see this content around them, they're in this world, they feel much more relaxed. And all of a sudden, you've got this relationship with this inexperienced person in a TV studio, seeing the world around her, and having a talk face-to-face with the reporter rather than looking away from it. They're actually engaging in a conversation like you and me right now, which is much more intimate, much more honest.
Okay, so in what way is it more interesting to do it like this, rather than to sit in a real set and have like a monitor in the set,
right,
looking at the features?
Well, that's a very good question. If we build a real set, obviously it looked that little bit more real. But what after the commercial break we want to change the set? We have to take a bit more time. We've got to get those real set elements out of the studio, the other ones built in. In this approach, because it's all a virtual environment, we just changed the content layer in the media server and instantly we're in a different set. So in the morning we can talk about the tennis. And then after the commercial break, we just reskin the virtual set and make it look like a basketball set.
How long does that take?
It takes the click of a button.
Really?
You keyframe that because it's a real-time 3D model, and you say to the media server, to this guy's media server, you say, look, this skin, this floor skin is exposed. You can do whatever you want with it. You can load any texture in there. So it's basically like keyframing it. We say, well, at this point in time, you are looking at this asset, so you look like a basketball court. When as soon as I click this keyframe, we change the asset and you look like a tennis court. So this all happens, I would say instantly, but it's almost instantly. There's like maybe a millisecond or two to load the new asset.
So for the Olympic Games and for the FIFA World Cup, they have huge budgets, of course, for these kind of...
Yeah, you'd be surprised though, they don't really.
Well, no, they don't really. Yeah,
well, you know,
everything needs to be low budget as possible, of course. But okay, but is the LED screens? Is it expensive? Is it like the newest of the newest, and therefore it's
well, obviously because you want to do the close-ups and you don't want to really be counting pixels, so you need a denser pixel pitch to have this work. But you mentioned the FIFA World Cup. So what happened was Wildlight was approached by ITV to deliver a mixture of a real-world set and a virtual set. Now, in the International Broadcast Center in Moscow, you have a small allocated space, which isn't that high. So how do you make that look a lot bigger? Just by adding an augmented reality element. In this case, it was a dome, a beautiful gold-plated dome, which wasn't really there. But the fantastic thing about it was there was a window in there, which is a virtual window, and a real-world camera outside the studio, streaming that, whatever that camera saw, into this virtual world. So
that is crazy.
Yeah, the small studio, which...
I mean, it could be like the radio studio
So
like
imagine
this
radio station, and we add a 10-meter high dome in there with all kinds of decorative elements and details and a window outside so we could actually see what's happening.
Maybe the dam.
Exactly.
I was also astonished about your story about the shadow.
The shadow story.
Whoa.
Yeah, so what happens is because this is a real-time 3D model, again, this is really key in this story, we can move lighting. We can move the lighting around and therefore cast a shadow. So if I have a sunlight, if we go back to this example of this dome and I have the sunlight falling through there, I can link that to real-time sun positions. So if we were to do a 6-hour broadcast from 8 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon, the sun really changes position every time. We can link that to this virtual sunlight and have that update in real time. So you would see, if you were to do a time lapse, you would see a shadow move in real time.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
that's
really
amazing.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's really cool. And then the other thing we can do is, because we have, obviously in a studio you would have your real world lighting rig. Now we copy that lighting rig into virtual world. So if you light someone with a key light in real world space, his identical copy in virtual space is linked to that. So all your lighting angles and everything is just so much more connected, and it's real time, and it's in the correct angles.
How long does it take to build a studio like that?
Well, how long does it take to design a studio? If you start a TV program from scratch, your art director, your set designer starts with some sketches, some ideas. It's basically following the same principle of how we do it today. The only difference is we don't build the set anymore. Once the designs are signed off by directors and producers, it goes to your 3D modeler, your 3D content designer, and he starts virtually creating this set. That takes maybe, depending on the size of the set, a couple of days, a week. But once that's done, it's actually, you're good to go. You start then offline workflowing. So basically, you've got your 3D model in your media server. You bring your director, your lighting designer, your production designer. You all bring them to your design studio, whether that's in London or Amsterdam or Paris, and they don't even have to be in the same room. You can remote work together. Everybody can log in and do their thing. So everything happens offline, your whole sequencing, until you're completely happy with what you have. Then you come into the studio, and this is quite a good part as well. I'm glad you asked me that question, because that gives me the chance to say that. Mm-hmm. Once you get to the studio, calibrating tracking on cameras can be a bit of a painstaking process. You've got to find your 0 point, you've got to find your reference.
Yeah, that's the reason why I asked.
White balance.
You have to calibrate.
Yeah. So
is it a long time process?
It used to be. We have worked very closely with the people at Disguise, who are the creators of this media server, and they've designed this fantastic calibration process, which basically is a structured pattern that is displayed on the LED screens that gets picked up by the cameras, and then that's
up to 8 cameras?
Up to 8, any camera. You can have as many cameras. That really depends on budget.
All right.
So let's say you've got 3, 4 cameras. You point them at the LED screen. This pattern is displayed, and that is the calibration. And that takes 15 seconds. That's no more than that. You don't need to bring your measuring tape into the studio anymore. You just point your camera, you let this sequence run. 15 seconds later, or maybe 30 seconds later at most, your cameras are calibrated. So everybody now knows where they are in real-world space compared to the screen space, compared to the virtual space.
And that's software that you developed, or that White?
Well, we've been in close partnership with, there's been a couple of partners involved in this project. So there's White Light, there's the solutions provider, there's obviously Mouth Media as the content designer. There was a big involvement of Disguise to develop the workflow. The workflow is so much simpler now. It's so much more accessible. Because this is a media-based environment, we had build technologies that were partnered for the integration. We've had many, many partners there. So this whole workflow has been months and months of research for the part of Disguise, and they've come up with this brilliant, brilliant solution, which is going to be rolled out soon, I hope.
Do you know if you're nominated for the Stand Award?
Well,
Best
I don't know
Award.
whether we're nominated for the Stand Award, but I do
we
know
can't
that
find a nomination anywhere.
White Light's nominated for the Innovation Awards from tonight for the Cube, the Eurosport Cube, so that's exciting.
Okay.
Exactly,
Yeah. But if you can tell me who I speak to about Stand nominations, I'm happy to speak to them.
Is it possible to use this in big TV shows?
Yeah, you can. This is a scalable solution, so you can do it in a small setup as we have in the Future Zone. You can use this in a bigger setup. You can use it with 1 screen, 2 screens, 3 screens. There's really no limit to how much or how big you can go. I think the limit is budget. Really.
Yeah.
So you can mix it with TV studios with audios in it.
Yeah. So
the most simple studio costs what?
Well, that's just like asking me how much does a house cost. I can't really answer that. What kind of house are you looking for? What kind of studio are you looking for? How many screens? How many cameras?
So, okay, the most simple is like you have, I think, 2 screens or 3 screens. That's the minimum.
Right.
1 camera.
Right. Well, then there's like a golden formula to calculate that. So you've got to calculate. So the Disguise media server that we're using right now has 8 outputs. So it has 4 SDI inputs, 8 outputs. So basically, how many screens? Every screen is an output. A camera is an output. The return in the camera is an output. The delay, because we calculate the delays in the media server as well. So there's like how many cameras, how many screens? That's your golden ratio.
Yeah.
So I can't really answer that now, but there is a formula to calculate that.
for our listeners, you have to see this in the future.
Yeah, come and see
You
us.
have to see this.
Yeah.
Was it
If
If you're at the
F14 Hall 8?
convention, exactly, go to the Future Zone. You can't miss them. They're on your left when you walk in. So
Yeah, we're
really
doing
good.
5-minute demos every half an hour, but there's lots of people around, so come and see us and have a talk.
I wish you all the good luck with the
Thank
whole
you.
new system.
Yeah, you too. This is
Thanks for
brilliant. It's
visiting
really
our
hard-
shows.
Nice having a
Yeah.
little radio station in here. That's fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Bye.
High class, where you from? Foxy lady.